Greetings, music lovers. I'm Roger Bowie. This is a Rap with Roger. Today, I'm chatting with Finn Andrew from the Vales. Vales, who have a new album out this week, their first since 2016. Hi, Finn. That's a long time between drinks.
It is. Yeah. It's been a lot going on though, a lot to fit in.
I can understand. We'll talk a little about that. The last album in 2016 was called Total Depravity, and this one's called And Out of the Void Came Love. It's kind of apocalyptic. Presumably, you tried Total Depravity and it didn't work, or is it just the time is a riddle?
Yeah, I think that album certainly lived up to its name in the tours that followed it. Yeah, so this was I think I'd had my fill of that, and it was a good time to come home and be a bit kinder to myself and everyone else. Yeah,
yes, I read that. Of course, and in between, we had your solo album, a magnificent solo album, one piece at a time.
Yeah, I forget about that one, but yeah, that was in there as well, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yes. So, yeah, change of circumstance, change of country, change of life. There's a lot of life-changing moments in your world. What strikes me is when do the Vales become Finn Andrews and vice versa, or have we sort of witnessed a transition?
Yeah, it's gone through some changes. It sort of started out like a solo thing, a solo project that had a band's name, and then it sort of did actually become a band, and then it sort of stopped being a band again and this sort of a solo thing again. So it seems to have it's got no one's sort of fallen out or anything. It just seems to have this kind of revolving door policy. People come and go. Yeah, it's depending on the ratio of people. It's either sort of feels like a band or it feels like a solo thing. It just sort of depends who's involved at what time.
I mean, my observation, my oral observation is that the record is softer than other Vales records, but heavier than your solo album.
Yeah, that's probably about right. Yeah.
So when you made the move back, which is almost 6-7 years ago now, you said something to the effect that coming home gave you freedom to live again.
Yeah.
Are you a prodigal son?
It's just been a lot of touring, Roger. That's all it is, really. Since I was 17, I've been touring. Really, right up until I moved back here, it's just been one continuous tour, and I think that's what I needed to stop. And I guess the reason I could do that is because I didn't have any kind of center to my life at all. It was entirely built around the band, and I guess it's only so long that can function. So I've certainly, it's been a while since I've been back, sort of, buying cutlery and, I have like stuff now. I never really had stuff. And yeah, it's felt really good to be somewhere and to sort of try and belong somewhere, I guess, to one place. It's felt really great.
Yeah. Well, we're glad to have you here.
Thank
you. Museum, the winner. Just before we get on to the record, let's go back to the band for a moment. It's kind of a hybrid band when we've seen it emerge in the last couple of years, but you have some of the your original members and some new people and somebody who's left and then come back again. Am I right there?
Yeah. Yep. It's always changing. Yep.
And I'll articulate who they are in my review, but are they going to be the ones that are playing with you on the tour?
Yeah, it's going to be a sort of amalgamation of the solo band and the old Vales
Okay.
lineups.
Okay.
Very similar to the lineup we had when we did the Nux Vomica tour last year or the year before that.
Yeah.
That one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, Out of the Void Came Love is sort of positioned as a double album, or at least you're advising that it be listened to in two parts, which is, of course, a bit of a vinyl thing. But the ordering, the way the songs are ordered, and the sequencing and the segmentation, my observation is kind of like macro versus micro. The first half seems to be a little more cosmic in terms of its subject matter, and the part two seems more focused on the human condition, more personal. Does that resonate in terms of the way you see the record?
Yeah, I think I'm still a bit close to it to really know. I like that reading of it. I really just I think because most of the people that listen to us apparently listen to it on vinyl. That's certainly what we sell the most of. So I did structure it for the vinyl, with the vinyl listener in mind.
Right.
And sort of each side begins and ends, as well as the sort of the very clear break in the middle. But yeah, that could well be it. I guess I tend to just do things in a very instinctual way. That's all I'm left with after a few years. Like, what was it, 6 years of working on this? Because you just have gone so mad at that point with these songs, spending your days with them all the time. You really can only sort of run with your own instinct, and then I sort of make sense of it later. That always feels like the way it works anyway. Maybe 4 or 5 years later, I'll sort of go, oh, okay, that's why those were together, you know. But right now, I think I'm still suffering from being out in the cave with them for so long. The little hermit that I am.
Yes, well, you do come across as a deep thinker, not a hermit.
As a crazed hermit.
I did no, I wasn't going to say that. You said that, I didn't. No, but I've known you for a few years too. I sense you're you're more introverted and a deeper thinker, but some of the songs enable you to sort of extrovert yourself. Is that a fair comment? When you're on stage?
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah. I've never felt like either one of those things. There's certainly anyone who gets on a stage as regularly as I do, I suppose, has to have some pretty extroverted tendencies. But yeah, it's an odd one, isn't it? It's also a very hyper controlled space in a way. So it's a good place. The stage is a good place for introverts. Yeah, which is strange as well, isn't it? So I don't know which of those camps I belong in. I've always felt a little out of place in both.
Which means you actually bridge them in your own way.
I guess so. Yeah, I don't know. It's both have their moment, you know. It's good. I've certainly, yeah. I wouldn't want to be one thing all the time.
No. We've heard a good number of the songs already. I don't know, I think 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And when I look back at with the gigs you've done over the last 2 or 3 years, there's a whole lot of other songs that you played that haven't made the album. Are they left on the shelf, or I guess what I'm getting to here is the sort of process that you ended up with making it and selecting the songs and
Yeah. There was a period I was flirting with the idea of a triple album, which obviously would have just been sort of obscene, but that was an idea. There were a lot of songs kicking around, and there were a couple of songs that got booted off really at the last sort of the last moment that it was possible. So yeah, there's a few. We're thinking maybe we might put out a little sort of expanded version at some point.
That would work. That would work.
Yeah, because there's still quite a few that are sort of waiting in the wings.
You're like White Winged Bird and Amsterdam, and there's the three that I wrote.
Yeah, Amsterdam. That was the one that was on the album right up until the last minute, and then got shifted. Yeah.
But so, are you a person? This is a question about perfectionism, and in our business world, we often talked about, particularly when we're building systems, IT systems, that perfection is the enemy of good enough. Do you in your profession get to the point where it's good enough, or are you striving for perfection all the time?
I mean, I think perfection brought me nothing but trouble in the beginning. The search for it. I think I realized maybe after the second album, that this was sort of, a fool's errand. Ultimately, it really made me not sort of incapable of really doing anything. That's always been something I've been. It's sort of maybe less about perfection and more about control, I guess. That's sort of what I realized. It was less about, it could sort of, so I guess I made peace with there being quite a large amount of this enterprise that you don't control, and that's often where the beautiful things, the beautiful accidents happen, and it's a good thing not to resist. And
that's true.
I've sort of embraced that more and more, I guess, as I've gone on.
Well, you were very young at the beginning.
I was very young to be putting stuff out. Like, I'm glad I was touring, but yeah, that first album, those really were all the first songs I ever wrote, and I felt like I had to sort of answer for those for a lot longer than than seemed fair. But it did give me the opportunity to, start going into studios and touring, very early on, which was pretty amazing as well.
Yeah. Cool.
Learning on the job. Yeah.
Yep. And having those, we call them happy accidents, but you call them beautiful accidents. I think they both make the same point. What do you think about when you write about the day you meet your murderer?
Yeah, it's a bit of a mystery to me, that song. I think I'd just seen The Tempest somewhere, and
yes,
the end of the song is I sort of steal a little bit of the Tempest in there. There's a few things going on in that. I don't know. Yeah, I haven't figured that one out yet. Yeah, I thought it was really funny. Yeah,
definitely there's a funny side, but then I just had to ask you that. Because I'm going to I'll do more about the songs when I write when I finish my review. But there's a song also written by your dad.
There is, yeah.
Was that added after the birth of your daughter, or was that something that had been there for day one?
It was, well, I had the idea for a while. I mean, there's a really huge song for me, that one, because I mean, I listened to that song so much growing up, I guess, because I was in New Zealand for a lot of my or for all of my early adolescence, and didn't see my dad for quite a long time. So I remember that song was always this sort of, I'd listen to it quite a lot, and it was, I guess, this sort of little reminder of like, I don't know, of him. And so it was always, always felt like it was just, he was sort of communicating directly to me through that song. And it's very out of place in his sort of back catalogue. It's like incredibly kind of earnest for him, really.
Wasn't
fishy
it,
on it.
was it a Shriekback song?
It was a Shriekback song, yeah. I think it closed Big
was it?
Night Music,
Okay.
which is an album mostly about like lizards and deep sea fish and stuff. So it was certainly out of place on this kind of route. But I found this is so sweet. I love that about it. Really, it's sort of very nakedly sweet, which is not something he indulges in terms of his songs very often.
Well, maybe it's found its final resting place as the concluding number for your album, because it's in the right place there. It's a lovely way for the album to finish.
Yeah, I mean, I don't shy away from from stuff as much as he did, but yeah, it was it felt like a nice thing to do. And also because I haven't seen him in 4 years now, he's in England, and so it was it was kind of communicating. It felt like it sort of completed the circle or something. And I was sort of speaking to him and to her, obviously.
Yeah. Cool. The record's out this Friday. It's on all. Is the vinyl here? I know we had to wait for the vinyl, right?
Yeah, it's actually, I think, arriving on Thursday.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so with 1 day to spare.
Where was it pressed? Was it pressed here in the end, or did you have to wait for?
Yeah, the Kiwi ones. Yeah, there's a whole bunch done here, and then the international ones are all done over in Europe.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a batch being done here, which is good.
Good. I'll have to make sure my stylus is renewed.
Yeah, nice. You got a nice collection behind you there from the look of it.
This is just a nice background. I mainly play off digital these days, but the cartridges are so damn expensive. Anyway, I am writing about the album in more detail. The only spoiler alert that I can give the folks watching this is that they will not be disappointed.
Oh, good.
And that will be the end of the negatives. Unless there's anything else you want to say, because I'm going to have my say, but we often neglect to ask the author what they would like to say about their work.
Oh, I mean, I'm often the worst person to ask about these things, as I say, until I've had a bit of time away from it. My thoughts are a little muddied, but
right.
all I can really say is how delighted I am that it's finally made its way into the physical realm. I still haven't been able to hold a copy of it, so it still sort of feels like I've spent 6 years making nothing. So it'd be nice to actually hold it.
Yeah. Oh, well,
hold something tangible,
Well, you'll have a tangible moment by the end of the week.
Yeah. Oh, I can't wait. Yeah.
So there won't be any negatives about this album, folks. But once you've bought and listened to it, you can go and see it live, because your tour kicks off March the 16th. Yeah. Snaking our way through the country. It'll be beautiful. And you have the amazing Grace Cummings. Is he coming with you on all the songs, on all the gigs, or not?
I believe she is. Yeah, I think she's doing one on her own before the tour as well. And I haven't met her yet, so that would be great. Yeah. She'll be. She's awesome. All right, look, I'm gonna wrap it up at this point, folks. You've been hearing from one of New Zealand's finest songwriters, one of the world's finest songwriters. We can be proud to call our own. Thank you so much, Ben. Congratulations on all the great things that are happening in your life, and especially congrats on the new album, which is sublime. Thank you. Thanks, Roger. Thanks for having me.
Look forward to seeing you live.
Cheers, mate.
Yeah,
Speak
cheers.
soon. Cheers.